Hi, and welcome to another episode of Walleye Chronicles, where we find you, bring you in here, and talk to you about your fishing life and your career and how you've got to where you are. Today, I have Max Kofnetka in with me today. Max, some of you may know, also worked on for Fixed TV doing behind the camera for some NPFL events and some H2H events. Max, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So you also fished some college club stuff as well.
That is correct. I fished for the University of Whitewater for all 4 years of my college career, I guess you could call it. Mainly on the side of bass. Tried to get in some walleye stuff, but just didn't really get around to having time to do it.
So tell me what that's like being a college bass fisherman.
Yeah, so it's very competitive. We got a lot of really good teams around the area. One of the big hitters, it seems to be, is Stevens Point. We also got teams in La Crosse, Madison, Oshkosh just recently started one, and they're doing very well, along with ourselves. And it's really crazy. It's just starting to grow and grow and grow, whether it be the numbers of members in the clubs to just schools starting up clubs. It's a great thing.
So how does that work? Do you guys have like a is it like a conference, or do you guys have meets, or how does kind of break that whole thing down for us, how that works?
Yeah, so with Whitewater, we elected members of our team. We had a secretary, a president, a vice president, and then we usually had a social media person that would kind of manage our accounts to get publicity and kind of get out, promote any sponsorships that we were trying to get, or any fundraiser events that we did, because the school really only gives you a small chunk of change to work with. So a lot of these college teams, you're going to see them doing fundraisers and stuff and looking to get out in the community to kind of put their name out there to kind of help with getting us being able to go to some of these events.
I got you. So you guys locally fish against other teams, or is it just like bigger events you guys travel to?
We usually do just bigger events, whether it be the Bass Master College Series or the MLF.
Okay.
We do some with the Bass Nation locally in Wisconsin. Really the only local Bassmaster and MLF tournaments that you see are going to be on the Mississippi, because that's a big fishery, and
Yep.
they don't really like to send you out of, say, Sturgeon Bay or something, because they figure a lot of guys don't have the means to kind
have boats.
of battle with that.
So do you guys provide your own boats then too, or you guys have helpers, or?
We do not. It's just kind of first come, first serve. Whoever has a boat, we usually set them up. They're for sure able to go. And then we kind of let them either choose a partner, or we kind of let them kind of put a slip in a hat type deal. And whoever's at all the fundraising and stuff, they obviously get priority.
Wow. So what how did you have success in there? How did success look for you? How did that look for you? Was it just kind of going and competing against everybody else and kind of learning that's part of it, or was there something else that you guys got from it?
Yeah, the biggest thing I got from it is just kind of getting in that competitive feel with bass fishing. I started out as a walleye guy, so I probably didn't know what I was doing a whole lot. And I fished out of a smaller boat. My dad at the time didn't have a nice boat that I could use. So it's just kind of, you're like the underdog. You just kind of work with what you got. Some of these other schools, they're a little better off. They're bigger schools.
Yep.
And they know what they're doing. I mean, some of them schools, it's like you got to try out to be there.
Wow.
It's crazy. But just sticking with what you know, putting your heart out on the line, and just kind of see where you can end up at the end of the week. Most of the tournaments are either 1 day, 2 days, so it's not too crazy, but you still got to go out there and give it all you got.
I gotcha. So let's go back to Max as a youth. So what was your first memory of fishing that you can think of, that you can remember?
Yeah, my first memory, my grandfather got me into fishing. We have a cottage on Lake Poygan.
Okay.
Kind of over where the old Duck Inn used to be. And almost every weekend in the summer, we had a pontoon boat because my grandfather was paraplegic. He fell out of a tree stand, broke his back, So we'd go out every weekend over the elusive walleyes out there, usually in the horseshoe hole because that's where about everyone goes.
Right.
But I remember just helping him out. I was like his little first mate. He'd work the boat, I worked the rods, put all the planer boards on, and it was just a blast. I mean, we did pretty good most of the time, but it was just quality time with the family, really.
Right. So what was those for? So you're trolling. Um, any particular bait you remember that you're using?
I know my dad or my grandpa and my grandpa got my dad into fishing too, but our number one bait was either number 5 flicker shed, or my grandpa always had a sweet spot for the Selmo Hornets. Yeah, like a whole box of those things.
I do also have a sweet spot for the Selma Hornets. That's probably, I look at those boxes as my retirement. So you fished on Poigan out there. So when did you did you live close to water? Did you have friends that fish? Did you kind of move into kind of fishing with friends at all?
Yeah, so I'd have to say I was the main driver on kind of getting my friends to get into fishing. Other than that, in high school, I helped my good friend of mine and mostly my co-angler for a lot of tournaments I fish now, Marcus Schultz. Even though he was a freshman when I was a senior in high school, I mean, there was just that chemistry there, and ever since we've been fishing buddies basically almost every weekend. And between me and him and kind of getting the high school team set up, I mean, I was just trying to get as many people fishing as we could, whether it be ice fishing, open water fishing. I remember there was a couple of times when I was just going on Facebook and be like, hey, anybody want to come with? You're welcome. I mean,
So what town did you grow up in then?
I grew up in Menasha.
Okay. So, I mean, that's a good fishing town.
Yeah.
You got a lot of water, a lot of places to fish there, the dam and obviously the lakes, lakes both sides, and you got the rivers and dams. So what was that like for you?
I remember me and my buddies we used to bike down to the Menasha Dam and try to catch some walleyes. Back then, we didn't really know what we were doing. Just kind of put a worm on a jig and see what happened.
So when did you start first having success by yourself?
I'd say at a young age, really. I think I was about 10. I got my boater's license over at the Menasha Public Library. They used to run classes out of there, and then my dad bought me my first boat, which was like a 12-foot Lumacraft with a 9.9 kicker on it.
Nice.
So that was
You had to do some
pretty cool.
damage with that bad boy in there then.
Oh yeah, I took that out on Poigan a couple of times. I put the old Atwood rod holders on the thing. Trolled around a bunch, caught some nice fish. The only bad thing about it was every time you let the tiller handle go, it was like throw you in a 180, and it was like sheesh.
So you fished in high school then? You said you had a high school fishing team as well?
Yeah, we mostly fished ice fishing, but we did do I think about 2 summer tournaments just for like bass, and then we did like a walleye one in spring out on De Pere.
Okay.
So just getting the kids involved was super cool. I mean, I was a kid at the time too, but
Right.
the more you can get your colleagues to get out and do something and learn some stuff, that was the biggest thing. Like, I know a lot of people, I don't know if you've had him on the show yet, but Greg Karch, he
Nope.
does the Learn to Fish with
Yep.
us. We actually had him come in along with the Nina Fire and Rescue and just give like cool presentations.
He does have a great
Whether
presentation.
it be learning certain things about how setting up a tip up or with the fire and rescue, ice safety. It's just a really good learning experience, and I think it really rubbed off on the kids to be more safe.
So you're kind of self-taught in a way. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, other than your grandpa kind of getting you the to go to do it, and you and your dad get going, guys were self-taught too. So do you and your dad fish together quite a bit, or?
Not as much as I would like to. He's mainly focused on our, we got a deer hunting property now.
Okay.
So he's setting up food plots, apple trees, everything. And I'm like, Dad, can we go out to the bay and whatever? He's like, I don't know. Just busy. So eventually, once he gets some of that stuff sorted away and more established, we'll probably get out a lot more.
So what's it about fishing that makes you put you so far into it, that makes you want to do this?
I
all
just
the
like the unknown. I mean, every time you go out fishing, it's kind of like opening a hat full of slips. You never know what's gonna happen. Um, and just the excitement of kind of like teaching people how to do stuff, or like getting on a bite that you never got on
right?
before, and you're like, or you throw a new bait and it starts going crazy. It's like, dang, this is cool, and it's nice because you learn something every time you
Right.
go out.
That's true. So what's been the hardest thing to get you to this point so far to learn or to deal with?
I think the hardest thing, hmm, that's a good question. Uh, I guess the hardest thing is just like in tournaments and everything, staying confident, um, kind of sticking to what you know
Yep.
instead of just going off on a whim and say someone at the boat launch say they're biting on such and such bait, and then you
Right.
get it and it's not producing well, and you kind of get a little bit of a headache. So I just say confidence. Uh, it's like the hardest thing in fishing because you just got to keep a good mindset.
Yeah. You spend a lot of time up in your mind, don't you? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
casting and it's, I mean, tournament day, it's, 6, 7 hours. You're just
beating yourself.
beating yourself up. Yeah. Or second guessing yourself the whole time.
Yeah.
And that, knowing when to leave, when not to leave, what to keep, what not to keep, what to throw. And I get stuck in throwing confidence lures over and over and not moving off them, of like, you gotta try a different lure, you gotta move on, you gotta so that's pretty interesting. Yeah, the brain power of fishing is I think it takes a very strong person to be able to go out there, especially tournament fish. I think if you're doing on the weekend stuff and kind of just fishing for fun, it's a little bit easier, kind of more relaxing, and
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things is after a tournament week, go out fishing is catching whatever. If it's you get on a pot of sheephead and smack those for a while, right? I mean, it's
It'd be fun.
do the big sweep and hook sets. For the full version of this podcast, check out Fix TV. And remember, follow me on the talk at Smile and Fish and everywhere else at Matt Snell.